Hello, beautiful children. I'm so excited to share this week's Parsha with you. I see you in my mind's eye. Parshat Vayishlach. Let's see if I can make it a bit shorter so it's easier for Rabbi Lawrence to convert to a YouTube. Let's see. Okay, you ready? Rolling back the time, and one more. Rolling back the time, and one more. Rolling back the time, and thinking and thinking and thinking with my t-shirt on. It's time for Yaakov to go back home. He's not been home in a long time. How many years, children? Does anybody know? Mummies, daddies, shout at me. I'd like you to tell me. 34 years. And of course, on the other side of home, there was a very angry Esav, who, when Yaakov left, Esav wanted to hurt him because Yaakov had managed to get the bracha with Rivka's help from his daddy Yitzchak. But when he left, Yitzchak blessed him. So Yaakov knew that his daddy was pleased to give him the bracha in the end, but still he was very worried about what Esav would do with him coming home with all his wives and children and everything. So he sent messengers. He had a plan, sent messengers to see what they would say. And unfortunately, the news is not very good. 400 soldiers are waiting for you. They're coming towards you, Jacob, Yaakov. That's what the messengers or the angels tell him. So Yaakov has a plan, and we learn from Yaakov a lot about how to deal with difficult situations. The first thing Yaakov did is he prayed to Hashem. He davened. That's the first thing he did. It's the first thing we should always do, is daven to Hashem. Look for help from Hashem. And he did that. The second thing he did was very diplomatic. I used to work in the Foreign Office at Shamsi Tel Aviv, and I worked with a lot of diplomats, and they were very good at being very careful what they said and working to make sure that people, if you were careful how you treated people and spoke to people, you might stop them fighting. It's called being very diplomatic, saying things in a very careful way, not to upset people. And Yaakov's plan here was to give presents, to appease, to lower Esav's anger, to appeal to Esav. So what did he give? Chocolates? Strawberries? Marshmallows? All sound like good presents to me. But no, Yaakov had a lot of livestock. So Yaakov gave animals as presents to Esav. What sort of animals? Can you guess? Shout some animals out at me. Well, 200 she-goats, which are called does or nannies. It's always going to be less boys than girls, children. So don't worry, we girls have got the power. We seem to have more than the boys, but the boys are really important too, but there aren't as many boy animals as girl animals. How many he-goats? 20. How many she-lambs called ewes? 200. How many rams, the male sheep? 20. Now, I don't know if this is a goat or a sheep or a lamb. Well, it's not a lamb, but I don't know if it's a goat or a ram. But anyway, he looks magnificent. So I've decided he was one of the animals. And can you imagine what a sight this was? 30 nursing camels. Mummy camels, who are called cows, but not the cows we know of, with their babies. And then there were the cows that we do know. How many of those? 40 cows. And how about the daddy cows called bulls? How many of those? 10. Yaakov said, please leave spaces to all his staff, all his servants, as you are giving them. Refer to Esav as if I am his servant, and say that if it pleases the master, these are presents for Esav from his servant Yaakov. Wow. Okay, not sure if Esav's going to like that or not, because of course Yaakov's bracha meant he got everything, but maybe it was a clever thing to do. And the last thing he does is he then is very careful to split his camp. He splits his camp. That's when he uses military strategy as a plan. Okay, so that if one camp gets hit, the other camp maybe can flee. All sounding good, got everybody on the other side of the Yabok River, and then SPS, some people say, aka also known as the Midrash, forgets something, maybe jars, and you could say, well, he's so wealthy, he could have just said, okay, never mind, well, it doesn't matter. But here also our sages teach us that we must respect and value our things and not belittle them. And so Yaakov goes across back again to retrieve whatever it was. And then there is a stranger. That way round. Stranger danger. A very difficult individual person, although he's not a person, we discover he's actually an angel, but he fights, struggles with Yaakov all night. Can you imagine how strong Yaakov was, that he was able to fight all night long? And then, as the dawn was breaking, he does something to Yaakov's hip. Sometimes when children play, they play zap. Zap you. Not really hurting each other, just play pretend. But Esav's angel really does zap Yaakov in the thigh. He dislocates the hip slightly, he affects the sciatic nerve, which is why we don't eat that part of the animal. The meaty man understands that. And that's the Taryag mitzvah from the 613 mitzvot. It's the transgression, what we can't do. We can't have that part of the animal. So Yaakov is limping, but he still holds on. Hold on, I'm holding on for my bracha. Why does Yaakov want a bracha from Esav's angel? That doesn't make any sense, does it, children? Or does it? Yaakov says, I want confirmation. I want you to tell me, yes, Yaakov, you deserved the blessing. It was rightfully yours in the end. And the angel kind of does that by saying, you have overcome an angel. Yisrael, you overcame the angel. Therefore, your name is no longer Yaakov. Your name is going to be Yisrael. That's what your name is going to be. Okay, fair enough. And now Yaakov separates his family. So the ones of most importance closest to him, and they proceed. What a procession to move forward. First we have Leah's maidservant Zilpah and her children, followed by Bilhah, Rachel's maidservant, and her children, followed by Leah and her children, and finally Yaakov, Rachel, and Yosef. Imagine all these animals being presented at spaces between them. My master, this is from your servant, this is what the staff are telling Esav, appease the anger of Esav. And what happens? Well, Yaakov doesn't stop and wait at a distance. Yaakov has the strength to move forward, bows once, bows twice, bows 3 times, bows 4 times, bows 5 times, bows 6 times. Are you getting dizzy? Bows 7 times in front of Esav. Esav comes running towards him. Vayaratz Esav. Run, Esav, run, Esav, run, run, run. Likrasa to meet him. Vayachabkehu, and he hugged him. Vayipol al tzavaro, and he fell on his neck. Vayashiku, vayivku, and they kissed each other and they wept. Run, Esav, run, Esav, run, run, run. Yaakov, don't worry, it's not going to be bad. Fun, fun, fun. Some people say, aka also known as the Midrash, that Esav did have a bad intention and he wanted to hurt Yaakov, but Yaakov's neck became like stone. Esav could not hurt him. Who knows? But what is clear is that at this point, children, in time, there is no war. There is no fighting. There is a truce, an agreement for peace. And the two brothers hug and kiss and cry and weep. And Esau says, Esau's still got a very rough way of talking. Esau sort of says, well, I could hang out with you, or why don't I leave some of my people with you, or why don't we travel together? But Yaakov is very keen to get back home safely, and says, which is honest, I've got my wives, I've got my children, I've got all the animals, they're going to slow me down. We will meet again, but not now. I'm going to go slowly at my own pace. And Esau, at first, who says, I've got plenty, I don't need all these presents that you're going to give me. But when Yaakov asks again and again, Esau, emor ma'at v'aseh harbe, speak little and do a lot. Esau's happy to take the lot. He does take the presents. And Yaakov goes off to Shechem, and Esau goes back. Esau, known as Edom, goes to Edom, to Har Seir, and that will be the standoff, SPS some people say, aka also known as the Midrash, that at Moshiach, the big standoff between Esau's descendants and Yaakov's descendants, that's us, will happen at Moshiach time. But in the meantime, we know that Esau's angel who fought with Yaakov, who wanted to teach Yaakov a lesson, that didn't happen. Hashem showed that angel that in fact it was Yaakov who really won that battle. Okay, so Yaakov settles in Shechem. And Yaakov at this point has 11 sons and 1 daughter called Dinah, beautiful Dinah. And I said I was going to say something more about Dinah. And I have to be very careful because this has to be appropriate for the children, because I don't want to be too freaky-deaky for reception to year 2 or the 4 to 7s. So let's just say that Dinah decided one day that she was going to go out without permission, without a mask, and meet up without social distancing with a whole load of girls. Was that okay? Absolutely not. Nobody could go out. It wasn't safe, and you couldn't go out without telling your mummy and daddy, and Dinah went out without permission. And what happened was, there was a very important prince, and he thought, right, I think Dinah would be perfect. I'm going to take Dinah to my palace. I'm going to have Dinah. Terrible. That's called kidnapping. That's totally not allowed. It's against the law, and you get very, 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 very big punishment for it, because it's a very bad thing to do. But don't worry, because as far as you children are concerned, it's okay, because Dinah's brothers come and save her and take her safely back home. And for all the grown-ups that might want to know more about this story, you're just going to have to contact me or research it yourself. So Dinah is back safe and sound. And sadly, at the end of this week's Parsha, we have important people who go back to Hashem. We have Devorah, who used to be Rivka's nurse, who is buried and dies at Bet El. Perhaps she's buried under the tree there at Bet El. We are told that Rivka dies, SPS, some people say, aka also known as the Midrash, that she's 121 years old. We know that she's buried at the cave of Machpelah. Yaakov goes to Hebron, which is where Yitzchak lives. And then sadly, when Yaakov is on his way near Bethlehem, beautiful, beautiful, beautiful Rachel, who has a lovely baby, her second baby, Binyamin, in her tummy. She has Binyamin safely. She calls him Ben Oni, the son of my affliction. But unfortunately, she goes back to Hashem, she dies. But Yaakov calls him Binyamin, my right hand. He's going to be very important. He's going to have lots of things, lots of mentions in the Parshiot that come up. He's going to be a very important little boy as well. Okay. And very, very sadly, after all of that, Yaakov's daddy, Yitzchak, dies, and he lives to 180 years old. And both Esav and Yaakov bury Yitzchak in the cave of Machpelah. And Esav obviously is in Edom, Har Seir. And the only thing I do want to tell you, children, as we end this week's Parsha, is to remember that actually in the Torah we never have any words wasted, and the Torah spends a lot of time talking chapter and verse about Esav's chiefs and princes. They were all very important, lots and lots and lots of information given about them. One thing sticks out in our minds. Eliphaz, whom I spoke about in last week's Parsha, Esav's son, has a baby boy called Amalek. Amalek, I'm afraid for us, is like a snake. Amalek, I'm afraid, I never like things to be bad news, but Amalek is very bad news for the Jews all the way through history. And at some point, Amalek will have to be destroyed. So there will be no more Amalek to hurt the Jewish people. And Amalek, every generation, tends to come up and hurt the Jews, but please God, we listen to Hashem and we know that there is a rule to blot out the name of Amalek. So if we keep our Torah, we keep our mitzvot, we listen to our mummies and daddies, then we will be fine. But it's important for children to know that this person came from Esav. Okay, time to finish off with our tiny little song. And I think Rabbi Lawrence might be pleased with me because I managed to make this one shorter. Woohoo! And even yabba dabba doo. Listen to your mummies and daddies and do what they say. Listen to your mummies and daddies and please don't forget to pray. Listen to your mummies and daddies, our rabbis lead the way. Then they will be happy. See you again very soon. I have worked on the Siddur handout. I am waiting for that little child to do the last little bit. I'm hoping to get it. And then I am hoping to do a tefillah as well for you. Be good. Take care. Don't worry about anything. See you soon. Bye.